Hey, hey! Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, back. We're here in the pre-show, and I thought I would take minutes, say hello, hi, how you doing? I'm gonna be doing a little live streaming this morning. Um, we had a day off yesterday because there was no volume, in the feedback loop. Today though, we've got a few things submitted, so we're gonna dive in on each of those. Actually, we did have Katie submit it, but it was like in the afternoon, and I wanted to make sure I just answered that right away. We'll take a look. We'll take a quick look at some of her stuff. Um, I did want to share my screen because there was one thing that I was going to show you folks. If you watch the live stream, I like to give you a little peek into something that might not make the edited version. But there's this design systems for Figma.com site that was launched, and I can't tell you how long this has been around. It just hit my radar like yesterday. But literally there are dozens of design systems that have now popped up on using Figma. And I think it's really cool to kind of see how other companies leverage Figma. And one of the things that if you followed what's happening over at for the interface course with New Pragmatic, you should recognize. And it's funny. I think GitLab is actually, or is it? It's called Pajamas. And yeah, there's Pajamas right there. We I went through and basically adopted Pajamas. The thing about a lot of these frameworks or design systems, however you refer to it, is they often utilize typography that isn't available. So what I did for Pajamas is I went through and replaced all the typography that was embedded, that was something that you didn't have access to, with Roboto. And now it's Roboto Pajamas, or Robot Pajamas. And the idea was that you could still see how their system worked, but you just wouldn't have to go through all the conversion steps to make it work. I discovered that after trying to utilize Uber, which oddly enough Uber's not in here, so maybe that was something that they saw. I am very interested in this, the Carbon design system for IBM, because that means they're using IBM Plex, and it's just and what's interesting here is some of these things aren't actually posted to the Figma community. And one that you could see, oh well, there's Uber, but Uber's posted to the Figma community, but it's without the font, and the font is proprietary, so that's just unfortunate. Let's see here. What else is posted to the Figma community? I believe it would be interesting to see if Apple posted theirs to the community. No, it's just a download. Well, that's interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and download the HIG. I'm just curious. Like, I'm curious what we get from that. We're gonna save the file. That's fine. And now let's do this. Fairly large file. It's 32 megabyte file, and it's open in text edit. That's not really what I want. Stop that. Don't do that. Text edit's not going to do anything for us. Yeah, that doesn't work. But if we drag it, we should be able to drag it to Figma. Nope, can't drag it to Figma. So let's come up here and hit plus, and let's try to do it this way. It's been a while since I've actually tried to open a. Let's just drag it into here. Let's see if this still works. Human interface guidelines.fig. I'm just shocked they didn't think to, like, okay, so Looks like it's importing it, which is nice. I like that, right? We're waiting on... Oh, and it looks like we've gone live. So that's done. Let's just take a look at the human interface guidelines as they were. These were posted. So I have not looked at them. There could be boobs in here. I don't know. So thumbnail. Interesting. Ooh, this is 10.15. Okay. And what do we got on the typography? Ooh, yep. Okay. So that's fantastic. I may have to make that available to more people, because just posting it onto as a Google drop, that doesn't make any sense. Not to me. I mean, if this is the whole thing, watch page. Yeah, this is pretty fantastic. Not gonna lie. So that is that again, and I will make sure we drop that into the channel. But that's this design systems for Figma. I really do think that this is pretty cool that somebody's put this together. Notice that some of them have this little price tag. Ant Design, for instance, this price tag over here. Not most of them don't, though. Most of them are considered to be free, so that's great. But just know that if you go through and you're looking for a design system, this is not a bad place to begin your search. But I'll be making as many of these as that aren't currently on Figma. I'll be making them available if at all possible. So be on the lookout for that. But the good news is that well, I don't need that. Just close those down. The good news is that CouchBot's fired, which means that we can get this bad boy underway. Greetings one and all, Chris Courtney here for New Pragmatics. Time for the feedback loop. So good to have you back for another edition. We have again a medley, a trio, a triad. We have, let's see here, Rebecca's here, Eve is here, Katie making a guest appearance. Katie actually submitted her work yesterday, but I want to take a look at what she's got for the benefit of the group. Yeah, and otherwise, it's not a lot else is going on. I've actually been head down. Like yesterday, we didn't have a recording because the sequencing was off. Also, welcome to the program, Abby. We have a new student joining us. But I'm working on a new video where Eve's currently going through the process of building out our portfolio, and she's never done the front end code thing before. So she's the work we're going to be looking at. She's actually taking this. She's taking the time to build it out in Figma. So she's kind of calling her shot, telling us where she's trying to go, and then she's going over to Webflow and building it. And it got me to thinking, is like, it's been a minute since I messed with Webflow. So I'm putting together a new video comparing what it's like to build the same exact site, and I'm just using the new Pragmatic homepage. What's it like? What's the difference between building that thing in not Figma, but in because Figma's pretty straightforward, folks. Building it in code, then building it in Webflow, then building it in Squarespace, and then Wix has a new editor which is weird and kind of cool at the same time, but really weird, called Editor X. Anyway, I'm looking at all four of those side by side. I've got obviously I have the coded version done. I've got the Webflow version done. I've got Squarespace done, and now I'm over in Editor X. I'm hoping that I can wrap that up this week and maybe have that out early next week. But know that there is a comparison video coming for those 4 options, and I do have some definite like suggestions based on, you know, it really, each platform has its strengths. Obviously, I'm down with code till I'm blue in the face, but I also understand like these other things have value, and I'm trying to find where that value is so that you can know what lever to pull and when. Anyway, that said, let's go ahead and jump into the mix here. And right off the gate, we're going to take a look. Hey, there's human interface guidelines. We just imported those in the pre-show. I'll drop a link in so that you can follow along with what that was all about. We're not going to worry about that right now, though. Let's go ahead and close that down. Let's start here with Rebecca. Rebecca's got a series of questions, and it appears that, let's go over here. She's got her questions. I told the client, okay, so she's got a number of questions right here. I told the client, let's see, 11. Oh, no. I'm confused about drop shadows and how to use them. I remember using them more in Sketch, and I've been designing flat since. Would love you to shed some light on how to use drop shadows in Figma and when to use them designing cards and fields. Okay, so I'm gonna walk up here for a second, and we'll take a look at Figma drop shadows. I'm going to preface this by saying that I am the flattest designer ever. I consider drop shadow, like, the first thing I did at my job in 2004 was get rid of a drop shadow. Well, actually, it wasn't a drop shadow, it was a highlight. It was a highlight on a circle, and the rest of the logo was flat, but there was this highlight on a circle that the circle was 3D, but the box below it was flat. And I said, well, that's dumb. I'm not adding a highlight to the box. So I immediately turned the faded highlight into a solid circle, flattening the logo down and making the logo like come together. And ever since then, I have been Mr. Flat UI design. I consider it to be something that reproduces better. I consider shadows to be very skeuomorphic, and every time I hear the term skeuomorphic, I hear people talking about the green felt of the Apple poker game. There was green felt, and there's also a friend of mine who designed a app for it was like a bookshelf app for iOS, and this is about the same time that the Apple bookstore came out, and suddenly everything had like a wooden like texture for like it was a literal bookshelf. Anyway, so skeuomorphic, I'm not your guy, but I do respect the fact that you want to take a look at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull up this blue, okay? And I'm not going to tell you that this design is what you want to do, but what I am going to show is like how to pull shadows in. So let's say that this is a card design, all right? And I'm going to come in here into the effects, and I'm going to put a drop shadow in this. The effect settings are over here on this little light bulb, this little sprite, I guess. And you know, right now it's just moving straight down. It's as if our point of reference is right over the top and pointing down. And you can make that larger if you like. I think you gotta spread it out a bit. It's got to be a little softer. And for me, you know, the real value in a shadow is when it's subtle enough to be seen, but it's not harsh. Okay, there are drop shadows that I see that are put in that are like this, that are really just too heavy. They don't they don't really make any sense. Also, there's drop shadows that I see that are just, they're just too there's not really a lot of blur to them. But when you really think about it, when something is that close, I'm looking at some post-its on my desk right now, and if a light, if a post-it was like lifting off the edge, and a light was over it, it would make a shadow more like this. This is what that shadow would be like, and maybe that shadow would be a little bit over to the side. But here's where I run into problems. Where I run into problems is the fact that this shadow doesn't line up. Like there is no angle to it, and there's no way to go in here and begin to morph that shadow. That is a little refinement that I kind of miss from other platforms. Not to get into what those other platforms are, but I do miss the fact that I don't have the ability to like drag this out. Although, to be completely honest with you, there's nothing stopping me from drawing another shape here. Actually, I just pasted that right over the top of one another. There's nothing stopping me from killing that drop shadow, dragging this up here, being a little fancy with it. Getting rid of this. Now this is me just being super fussy. All right, so try not to follow my lead too much here. I guess I have to have the fill on there. Yeah. Otherwise, the drop shadow won't work. All right. Well, that's fine. Let's come in here and let's make it 30. We'll change this actually to black 30 as well, so that we're kind of getting that same. Oops. And see, now I have a little more control over exactly how that shadow moves. And this is a little more lifelike, because shadows, oddly enough, are not perfect. Okay? Now, here's the trick. You're not doing that in CSS. Okay? You're not doing that. That sort of print fussiness ain't happening in CSS. All right, so what you want to do is you want to come through, put that shadow on. You want to make it, if it's going to be close, I would make the blur very little and make it like, as close as humanly possible, to the base. Just so it like pops off. It's almost like a stroke at the bottom of the box at that point. But that's more lifelike. If you're not trying to go lifelike, which is what I hear from most people, is like, oh well, Chris, I'm not trying to make it a damn Rembrandt. I'm trying to make a shadow, Chris. I'm trying to make a shadow. Can you help me, Chris? Can you help me make a shadow? And the answer is yeah, I can help you make a shadow. All right. So then something like this is a little more appropriate, although I really think you probably want to have more blur to it so that it's at least showing up on a couple of sides. What you do not want, in my opinion, is you do not want something that is so blurred out that is showing up on all sides. Okay? This is not something that I think ever works well, particularly if it's too heavy. It's just like, it's almost like it's glowing at that point. So don't do that. All right? But that's my take on shadows, and you do not have, you are not bound to follow my strict adherence to the the way shadows really work in real life. Although I do think it's interesting to take into account how would that really work? Because that's really more like a shadow. That's more like one of these. They're imperfect. They're not. They never lay perfectly flat. Okay. Um, and have I? The next question is, well, Chris, have you ever exported a shadow and then layered it so that it shows up like this on the web? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And guess who? Guess who? What that means? That means I've done skeuomorphic design because I've tried to make something look real that wasn't real. The shame. But that's just a couple of ways to look at shadows. For your purpose, I think that you're more over here, and I would go subtle with it. I mean, it can be there, and again, if I change this and make it look like that, now you could even see a little bit of the shadow to the top, but most of it should probably be to the bottom. And if I move this down to 5 or or 6, it's definitely more bottom heavy now. Okay, and you probably still need some sort of gray or color or something. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. And obviously, you can go with your orange too. Orange works really well with that. That's just 2 cents on that. Oh, we got a question here. Oh, that's Katie. Katie, yes, Katie. I will check in with you in a moment. Be on the lookout, folks. Katie's going to post. Yeah, right, Rebecca. That design systems thing is pretty freaking cool. So that's shadows. All right. So I hope I didn't go too far afield with that question. That was probably more of a general Figma question, and I just went too far with it. So implement a wizard nav for the steps. What to call them? Okay. So this really depends on what the steps are. Okay. So sign up, and I don't necessarily even know that you have to call them. You have to call these specific steps. I just think the idea is that you have a stepper saying, there are, I'm just going to draw a line here. There are 4 steps. There are 3 steps. However many steps there are, we just want to make sure that we're acknowledging them. Let's use distribute horizontal space. Oh no, that's weird. Is there another one? Maybe. Okay. So these over here would be gray, right? And this would probably be your orange or whatever. And the idea is that you wouldn't necessarily have you want spacing here. Okay, I'm just going to put here at the top just for reference. Actually, we'll move that up so that this can all kind of, well, it's trying to set in there. I think you know what I'm trying to do. Oh, the arrow's gonna move with it too. Got it. Got it. Okay. But my point is, whatever steps these are, just identifying where you're at, so that as you get to part 2 over here, they either could light up as you go to indicate that they're done, or they could just move position. So it's like you run step 1, now you're on step 2, now you're on step 3, now you're on step 4. I don't think these have to be like sign up phase, this phase, that phase. And especially if you're having trouble like thinking about what to call those phases, because technically these are they all say sign up. So technically they're all sign up. So now you're not saying you're moving to a different phase, you're saying you're moving to a different screen. Okay? And those screens don't necessarily have to have names. Oh, yay! Katie posted her preference test. That's fantastic. I'm glad to see her do that into the Discord channel. Please, 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 if you're watching this, go take that test because you're helping your fellow designer out. Okay, so that's the confirmation screen for that. So yeah, I think that we've kind of talked about the stepper. Let's take a look at one of your other questions here. So 13. Yeah. Okay. So, oops. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to close that question. But you've told the client that they don't need to sign. They don't need to repeat Supermelon. But yet they're now repeating Supermelon. And Supermelon's here at the top the entire time. I don't know of a great way. I mean, you can always say, instead of, you could say step 1. Enter contact information. Okay, and instead of saying sign up for Supermelon, you can say, oh, well, hey, this is going to be sign up, and then we'll have like a line underneath that's 24 or whatever, and we don't want to have sign up for Supermelon because it's going to be too much information. So here we'll say sign up step 1, and then we'll say sign up step 2, enter company details, and then sign up step 3, preferred shipping methods. But you get the idea. If you're trying to push them away from that, you can't just say we shouldn't say sign up for Supermelon. You've got to say, oh, we should try to get some relevant information to kind of tell them what they're doing in this phase. So sign up, step 1, enter, and you can even switch this around and just say step 1, instead of sign up for Supermelon. You could actually flip this around and say, sign up, center, and then it would be, step 1. If you can imagine with me, if you will. So I'm not sure if that's perfection or not. I don't think it is. But if we you could also do it here and bring this down. But the idea is that, hey, can I give him something else to chew on other than oh my god, I don't think this is set up right. This Supermelon's got to appear over and over. You got to give him something else. Got to distract him, get him focused on some other aspect of this. Okay. Talked about drop shadows. Talked about wizard steps. Talked about this question is geared toward large enterprise companies like Domino's, McDonald's. How to better word this? All right. So, how many shipments do you typically receive annually? How many shipments do you estimate? On average, how many shipments do you receive annually? So you're at, I think the thing is, typically is a weird word to use in a business context. You got to think about how do I make this sound more like business people talking to each other? On average, how many shipments do you receive? Do you receive annually? that's I think a little closer to the mark. So let's see what else. Not sure how to design this back button. How to best design this back button. Um, that's I think what you have is fine. I'm not I'm not opposed to having it just as this. Um, I'm just gonna look through. Yeah, back button, back. Um, yeah, I'm not opposed to having it appear this way. Um, also with if you've got the stepper up here, that would be another way to go back. It's like, oh, I want to go back to step 1 or step 2. Um, so that would be an option as well. Um, so I mean it's consistent, you know. And I don't think what I don't think you want is I don't think you want to like put it below, and I don't necessarily think you want an arrow up here saying back. So I think you've got it the right way. I think you've got I think this is the right way. If anything, I could see you coming through and saying, "Oh, well, no, I don't want to put the gray shadow in this because the way you've got the form designed." Um, and this, by the way, what countries do you ship from? I know it's optional, but that could be more than one country, so you might want to have a little longer box. Because if I said China, India, Turkmenistan, India, or not India, I said India twice, Malaysia, America, Samoa, like I'd run out of space pretty fast. Okay, not that I ship from America, Samoa, but you get the idea. Yeah, I think that that gets us to the end of that. Yeah, so I will leave it there for you, Rebecca. And let's take a look. Let's actually take this moment to come over and peek at Katie's preference test. So Katie has submitted her preference test. It's in Usability Hub. And again, I like using Usability Hub, and I like getting feedback on my designs early. One of the things that we are always striving to do is to take a temperature of the room and determine which direction I'm going before we get too far afield. Seeking feedback is a good idea. Seeking feedback from a wide variety of sources often can put you onto a stronger path. And again, I just like having data. I just like having data. So when we get started here, Katie's got says, hello there. I'm working on the design of a meal subscription site for a grocery store. Please let me know which design you prefer. If you click on an image, it'll show on the full page. By the way, they were like, I just heard somebody this morning talking about how grocery stores are going to start creating virtual chains, virtual brands to utilize their kitchens to generate more sales, because people are craving more options because they're getting burned out ordering from the same takeout places. And a lot of restaurants just don't have a lot of variety. And it's like, holy crap, we created this a year ago, and like it's like literally a thing. Like the pandemic, and the first company that did that, by the way, was Chili's. They created the Chili's company. They created a brand called Just Wings, and they just they put a freezer in their. They put an extra freezer in all the Chili's restaurants, and now they just have a delivery service that just delivers like buffalo wings, like the little hot wings with the sauce. It's crazy. They're generating $150 million. All right. So here are the options that she's presented, and right away, there's you can click on any of these and zoom in. And like this looks stretched, Katie. I'm just looking at like really quickly. Alignment, these are stretched. We've talked about the spacing thing here. This doesn't work too bad, but the spacing, it's like it's not quite lined up. It's like too much space to this side, not enough to that side. I would tighten. I would first of all, I would align this text to align to the top. You have it kind of aligned to the bottom, but that adds weird space in between. So I would first of all I would tighten these up just a bit, like I would make the text start, this paragraph text start there, and I would even consider bringing all of this up, so the headlines basically start at the same spot here. And when you do that, these are going to get a little smaller, obviously, but it's going to create a more consistent reading pattern across. Also, you can look at these three boxes and see that why choose us isn't lined up. And I realize if you're watching this, it's like, Chris, you're beating us about the head on every little alignment thing. And that's right, because when I look at your work in a portfolio, that could be the difference between you getting the job and somebody else getting the job. I mean, this is pretty good work. It's not far away, but it's like you've got all your alignment correct here. Maybe this box could be a little smaller. I don't know. But it's painfully close to being right. So let's continue on here. Notice this is stretched, but this is not. Okay, but this is still not quite there. So I'm not sure what happened there. Spacing. This actually feels like it might have gotten too small. Like this text here, it's like I think this text and that text should probably be about the same size. Again, this is let's get this all of our text aligned to the top, so that it has a common baseline. Right now these two on the two on the right have a common baseline, but it's not shared by the one on the left. So let's get that fixed. The icons are tricky. All right. Two of these icons are aligned basically at the same baseline, but the third, again, this left one is not. And then like the spacing, like I look at why choose us. Like this is the space roughly to the edge of that column, and then if you look over here, this is a space roughly to the edge of that column. Like it's that's a lot more space from here to here than it is from here to here. All right, so we've got to get some alignment here. Some of this is just that this column looks optically a little wider, but this is just out of alignment right now. This is nice though. It's a good alignment. I'm not sure you need the stroke here. It's like you don't have the stroke here, so why is it there? I'm just thinking consistency of style as you go. But again, Chris, why are you beating us about the head? Because I want you to be awesome. I don't want you just to be okay. I want you to be awesome. And then we've got this one. Again, the stroke here. We've got a shadow here, so I don't know. And these shadows are okay. It looks like your baseline is good. Oh, it's close. I would still move it up so that this, I want these all to start at the same spot, not necessarily end at the same spot. If these are off on the bottom, that's fine. I want the space away from the center, not in the center. Same thing here for the baseline, though, as we go across on these headlines. You can see, right? Although your icons are pretty much there. So the icons are there. The headlines need to be adjusted, and then I would just adjust this baseline. The baseline's close. It's not right on, but it's close. This needs to come up in size. Although there is consistency in how you're using your buttons, so that I want to call out. You're consistent there. Spacing's good. Yeah, I would just notch that over. Either that or bring it in over here, or bring these in like something just that close. All right. So I didn't do that yesterday. When Katie, you sent these out. Click again to zoom out. You sent these over to say, hey, where are we at? And yes, like this is active. Everybody should be checking it out and giving you their feedback on it. But I do think it's important to take a minute to, once you get that feedback, we need to start like really ratcheting in on this, because right now these are in the vicinity of something that could be professional, but they're not for the little things that I pointed out along the way. All right, let's get those little things adjusted so that when this hits your portfolio, it's something you can like say, yeah, I did that. I'm very proud of that. Okay. The thing that I hate is when you put something out there and you know it's not quite there, and it's like, yeah. And I got to be honest with you, I got to own it. I looked at the new Pragmatic homepage. I'm gonna leave this for the first time in a while, and this is the Figma. I looked at the new Pragmatic homepage for the first time in a while yesterday as I was going through, and I was like, the line height on this is just a little too much for me. Like, I just like, that needs to be adjusted. Why isn't that adjusted? Because I was recreating this homepage in a number of different platforms, and so I have to own it. Like, there are things that I do that shift over time, and while this is the homepage for the site you signed up for, all right, and I'm still just like, I'm not quite okay with it. I get down here and I'm more comfortable with like the spacing and alignment. Like this is where I want it to be. This is a little tight. I want more space here. So anyway, just so you know, I'm constantly fighting with myself. Probably, doctors would probably say I'm a little OCD. Let's get in here to Eve though. While I'm just pinging off the walls on my tendencies. That's Preppy Puppy. That's not what I'm looking for. Where did Eve's prototype? All right, so we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back and relaunch that because I'm not sure where Eve's went to. But here we go. Launch it, Figma. Give it to us. Oh, it's down here. That's weird. Okay, fair. Sorry, it was open the entire time. I'm just not smart. Okay, Eve is over here. Got it. All right. So, let's talk about what Eve's doing first. So, Eve is, and I just had a freak out. Yeah, my audio. Okay. It's one of these situations where I saw the control screen for OBS, which is the streaming software I use, and I didn't see the voice meter moving. I'm like, have I been talking with this on mute the entire time? Oh my God, no. But then it's like, how would Rebecca have responded to the design systems link? Okay, so this is Eve's website about page. She's doing it in she's doing this in Figma first, so that when she gets over to Webflow, which is how she's building hers, she has an idea of what she's aiming for. And we've talked about this, and I hear from people all the time. They're like, Chris, why wouldn't you just go straight to code? Why wouldn't you just build it in Webflow? Why wouldn't you just do this? Why wouldn't you just do that? And the answer is, if you get over there and you don't have a plan, regardless of the platform, I don't care if you're coding out, I don't care if you're pulling up a Squarespace or whatever, you're just going to fall for whatever it is that you find that happens to work over there. Like, it's not like you're going to have infinite amount of time to do anything you want. So if you go in without a plan, you're just like, oh, I'm just going to mess around. And what you're going to end up with is whatever you could come up with that was right at the boundaries of what was possible for you to do. Facts. All right? But if you sit down in Figma and you're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to do this other thing, what you're likely to do is you're likely to design something that is just, it's going to have some questions. You're going to be presented with some questions that are going to push on you to figure out what the solutions are. There are things here that Eve's going to run into, regardless of platform, that she's going to have to go, how would I do that? She's already done it on the homepage. All right, we talked through that, I think it was on Monday. Well, now here she is on the About page. And, the first question she's got is, I would like to have these loop like a GIF. Okay, let's make a GIF. All right, and I love these. I love this. Hey, I'm professional. Hey, I got kitty cats. Hey, I'm professional. Hey, I got kitty cats. This kitty cat looks like a loaf of bread. But the question Eve's got is, how do I make that loop? Well, there's probably a few different ways to do it. A lot of people ask me all the time, if we come over to, New Pragmatic and we go to, let's go to interface. Or actually, let's go to, we'll go to interface. I'm sure that there's, so that's not one. That's not one. Nope. Maybe it's over here in, it's over here in UX. Sorry, observational research. So people are like, hey, how'd you make that GIF? I exported the file 3 times, and then I went over to a little website called Animated GIF Maker, uploaded them, and then I hit Make GIF. All right? So your challenge, Eve, is to come in to Animated GIF Maker with these 2 images. And yes, I want to be perfectly honest. Could you do it in Photoshop? Of course you could. But do you need to pay $50 a month to have access to Photoshop or the Creative Suite? Or can you just use the free online Animated GIF Maker? You can totally just use the free online Animated GIF Maker. Okay? And it's just 2 images. Like, it's not like you're doing like 100 elements. Like, just let's keep it simple. So anyway, Eve, I would suggest taking these 2 images, going in, and I'll drop a link into this easygift.com. And you go to the maker. It can also do video to GIF and also just stuff like that. Max size is 6 megabytes, but I've literally done hundreds of GIFs this way. If I come into courses, I'm certain there's one that I'm thinking about that would fit the mold. Let's see, maybe case study template. No, not case study template. Delivery matters. Yeah, delivery matters. This is how I that GIF maker is how I made this. Okay, so it's something that I have some experience with using. I don't think that there is a big there's an incorrect way to do it, so long as it gets done. So anyway, that said, Animated GIF Maker, that's how I see you doing this. As we work down, so how does that architecture read how, see why? These are kind of like floating in some space. I'm not completely certain about their placement, but it's also not going to sink you. And again, at some point, I have to back off my personal predilections here and go, yes, let's do that, because this is your design, not mine. This is yours, and if you want to have it that way, that's fine. Because read how is just going to link to here, see why is going to link to down here. Okay, so my question is, are we doing this mainly because we need the space? Because you got the longer image, and I don't want to cut the kitty cats off either. Kitty cats are awesome. But it just kind of feels like this might be a solution to, like, how do we make a nice little square out of this? And when you get the mobile, is that there at all? I don't know. So how, again, I love the fact that you're sprinkling in some GIFs here, and then sprinkling in like some real work. Should I keep this section or break it off on its own past projects? And I'm guessing, should I keep this section as in this? I don't necessarily think that it's a bad idea to have it here, to be honest with you. But it does feel a bit tacked on, considering the placement here is just read how, see why. Yeah, I could see you saying these are past projects, but I could also see you having a past projects page at some point. I think it's fine for now. Okay, I think it's fine for now, but it does feel like, how, why, prior work. Maybe this gets one of those little labels and you say prior work. And then, I love the why though, like it's like this collection of fun photos, and then baking. This is done the way that I really wish most people would do it. But again, you're starting from the right spot, Eve, in that you're starting from the perspective of content first. You wrote the content that then allowed you to create this page. You didn't sit down and say, oh, so what should be on my about page? And then you kind of started designing it. All right? So that's why you ended up with this selection. That's why this feels so strong, but this feels tacked on. It's like you're questioning, like, hey, I didn't necessarily, and I don't recall this being in the original. Like in the writing, maybe it was, but I don't recall it being there. But I do think it's a value add. I think it shows, like, it gives you a sense of scope. But I do think that, you've got, like, architecture mention. Well, architecture works prominently into the story, so I don't know. It's almost like we could make sense of these if we I would almost do a by the way, the process used above helped create the home scene below, and then, like, you've tied the two together, and that's like the judo move here. It's like instead of, you've got this TLDR, and here's the cat with the ball of twine, and then you've got a final PSS, if you will. Those houses I was talking about are down below. Right now it says, through collective design effort and continual hard work, we turn these homes into reality. We turn these dream homes into reality. And it's like, it's close, but it's still, and I think it's the style of this. I think just the style change, like it's not, it's no longer in the form of, yeah, like this is a question, and this is more of a statement. And then you get back down here and, yeah, I don't know. I think this is like a PSS. Like you want to read it, like it's a tack on to, you know, TLDR, blah blah blah, PSS. Those stories, these are the houses that are connected to the stories above. Like, you got to just connect the two, and I think once you do that, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, so I believe that's going to do it. Yeah, I think we're done. I think we're done. So we got a chance to look at Rebecca's ongoing work, some shadow talk there, some stepper talk, some language discussion about that walkthrough. Katie, obviously we're looking at details. Congratulations on releasing it for review. Once those reviews come back in, then we'll be able to say, okay, let's go right or left, and whichever direction we go, tighten it up. Okay? And then finally, Eve, I think you're in a really good spot. I do feel like we've got a little bit of work to make sure that the homes are connected, but I think that it's perfectly fine to have them in there. And then once you do that, like let's get that about page built out. All right? And it's going to be a more pressing challenge, but it's also going to be like it's going to be a bit of a bridge to the larger case study. Luckily, you've already designed your case study. You know what's going on there. So I'm looking forward to seeing like the about page become a bridge to the case study, and then like you saying, shipped, and we moving on. All right. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for this edition of the Feedback Loop. If you found any of this helpful, please click subscribe, and otherwise I will chat with all of you again tomorrow. Take care.